Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. You're watching the news with your host Kriti Mishra. Over the next 30 minutes, I'll take you through the news from around the world. First, the headlines this Wednesday evening. Voting ends for fourth phase of UP elections, over 60% polling for 59 assembly seats. Campaigning intensifies in Manipur and other poll-bound areas of UP. ED arrests Maharashtra Minister NAWAB Malik in money laundering case, interrogates him for over 6 hours. Prime Minister Modi lays stress on using technology to transform the image of rural India. Foreign Minister Jaishankar asserts India will not accept unilateral changes in LAC by China. Sanctions by Western nations multiply for Russia. Ukraine decides to deploy more troops in rebel-held areas. Let's take a look at our flash news segment. RBI cautions public against using carpooling app SRIDE. Russian envoy expresses hope that India-Russia partnership will continue at current level. Chief of Army Staff presents presidential colours to 4 parachute battalions in Bengaluru. Life thrown out of gear in Kashmir Valley after heavy snowfall in many areas. SENSEX registers bold recovery of 300 points to revisit 57,600 level in opening deals. Cryptocurrency ads can't use currency, must have high-risk disclaimer, says advertising body ASCI. Kerala reports higher COVID-19 recoveries, a steady decline in daily caseload. Oil prices rise more than 0.5% amid tensions between Russia and Ukraine. Puducherry Assembly adjourned sine die after a brief session. Prime Minister Modi congratulates PRAGNANDHA on beating Carlson, says feeling proud of his accomplishment. First, let's have a look at the news from poll-bound states. Voting took place for the fourth phase of the Uttar Pradesh Assembly elections on Wednesday. More than 60% polling was reported for the 59 seats in 9 districts. In view of COVID-19, arrangements had been made for thermal scanners, sanitizers, gloves, masks, PPE kits, soap and water at the polling stations. 624 candidates were in the fray in this phase. Prominent contests involved State Ministers Brajesh Pathak, Ashutosh Tandon, former Minister Abhishek Mishra and former Deputy Speaker of the Assembly, Nitin Agarwal. In the 2017 Legislative Assembly elections, the BJP won 51 out of the 59 seats in this phase. And Prime Minister Modi hit out at rivals in Barabanki, saying they were only bothered about the vote bank politics and did not pay attention to the problems of Muslim women suffering due to triple talaq. He highlighted the large-scale recruitment of women in Uttar Pradesh police as well as in the army.
यूपी में इतने दशकों तक कांग्रेस, सपा, बसपा की सरकारें रही, लेकिन योगी जी के आने के पहले उत्तर प्रदेश में करीब 11,000 महिला पुलिसकर्मी थी। 11,000। बीते 5 साल में ही हमारे योगी जी ने, भाजपा सरकार ने लगभग 20,000 नई भर्तियां हमारी बेटियों की पुलिस में की है भाइयों।
And in election news from other places, BJP President JP Nadda hit out at the opposition parties in Gorakhpur. He said that people of the state will choose the BJP, considering its commitment to the goals of development, security and prosperity. Union Minister Anurag Thakur targeted the Samajwadi Party. He said, while the party's candidate list till the fourth phase featured criminals and mafia, now there are candidates with links to terrorists as well. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath took pot shots at the SP and BSP in Sultanpur. He said that whatever these parties gain power, they'll bring terrorism and crime. He appealed to the people to vote for development. Samajwadi Party President Akhilesh Yadav criticized the BJP in Bahraich on the issues of inflation and corruption. He sought support for his party candidates in the 7 assembly constituencies of the district. Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia promised to develop Gorakhpur on the lines of development works of Delhi. Manish Sisodia said that the SP and the BJP have no intention of cutting down the burden of electricity bills. In Manipur, a flag hoisting ceremony was held by the BJP in the midst of the assembly election campaign in Imphal for its candidate P. Vishwajit Singh. And moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday urged people to visit border villages to impart a degree of vibrancy to sparsely populated regions along the country's frontiers. He was addressing a webinar on the impact of budget on rural development.
ग्रामीण अर्थव्यवस्था का एक बड़ा आधार हमारी मातृशक्ति है, हमारी महिला शक्ति है। फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन ने परिवारों में महिलाओं की आर्थिक फैसलों में अधिक भागीदारी सुनिश्चित की है। सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप के माध्यम से महिलाओं की इस भागीदारी को और ज्यादा विस्तार दिए जाने की जरूरत है।
Let's take a look at other national news. President Ramnath Kovind has received the expression of thanks by the members of the Rajya Sabha for his address to both houses of Parliament on 31st of January this year at the commencement of the budget session. The President's address is a solemn and formal act under the Constitution. It provides a broad framework of the government's agenda and direction. After detailed discussion, Rajya Sabha members adopted the motion of thanks without amendments. Indian Air Force will take part in a multi-nation air exercise, Ex Cobra Warrior 22 in UK from 6 March this year. IAF's light combat aircraft Tejas will be seen in the exercise along with the fighter aircraft of the UK and other air forces. The exercise is aimed at providing operational exposure and sharing the best practices and forging bonds of friendship. It will also be a platform for LCA Tejas to demonstrate its operational capability. 5 Tejas aircraft will fly to the United Kingdom. IAF's C-17 aircraft will provide the necessary transport support for induction. India is now an attractive hub for foreign investments in the manufacturing sector. Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh said that this is at the 28th edition of the DSTCII India-Singapore Technology Summit. He added that India is aspiring to be in the league of top 25 innovation nations with emerging technologies like blockchain, nanotechnology, quantum computing, Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. Singaporean Minister for Transport and Minister in charge of Trade Relations, S. Iswaran, disclosed that bilateral trade has grown by 35% from $19.8 billion to $26.8 billion from 2020 to 2021. And in news from the states, Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot presented the state budget for 2022-23. Chief Minister Gehlot also holds the finance portfolio. This is the 4th annual budget of his government. Opposition Congress and the Zoram People's Movement staged a walkout in the Mizoram Assembly boycotting Speaker Selo. In the 40-member assembly, the ruling Mizo National Front has 28 members, the ZPM has 6, the Congress 5 and the BJP 1 member. The Tripura government has approved the proposal of the Tripura Pineapple and Jackfruit Mission to increase the production of pineapple and jackfruit. The mission will be run by the government for 5 years. A budget of 153 crore has been allocated for this. 79% voting was recorded in the 4th phase of Panchayat elections in Odisha. Swarnpur district recorded the highest voter turnout of 86.57%, while Ganjam district recorded the lowest voter turnout of 65.21%. The Supreme Court will hear a petition seeking a direction to the centre to declare Ram Setu as National Heritage Site. The petition will be heard on 9th of March. The Jammu-Srinagar National Highway connecting the Kashmir Valley with the rest of the country was closed on Wednesday due to landslides and fresh snowfall in Ramban district. Many vehicles were stuck at various places. Employees of Chandigarh Electricity Department are on a 3-day strike against the Union Territory's move towards privatizing the department. The employees are demanding withdrawal of the decision. And moving on, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar interacted with a think tank in Paris on the India-China border situation. He said India-China military commanders have held 13 rounds of talks on the eastern Ladakh border. Both nations made significant progress on many aspects, but some sticking points remain. He also made it clear that India will not accept any attempt to unilaterally change the line of actual control.
We've had 13 rounds of discussions by military commanders focused on the disengagement issue. We are absolutely clear that we will not agree to any change in the status quo, any attempt to change the line of actual control unilaterally by one side.
Time for a short break. Lots more on the other side. Stay tuned.
संसदीय समिति ने अपनी पड़ताल में पाया है कि मनरेगा के लाभार्थी गरीब और वंचित वर्ग के लोग हैं।
किस तरह से मनरेगा जो स्किल्ड लोग नहीं है उनके लिए रोजगार उपलब्ध कराता है, कितना प्रभावी है।
पूरा देश ही नहीं, पूरी दुनिया कोविड की महामारी से करा रहा था। उस समय मनरेगा ही ऐसा कार्यक्रम था, ऐसा कानून था जिसके माध्यम से देश की बहुत बड़ी आबादी को न केवल काम मिला, काम के माध्यम से आजीविका मिली, जीने का सहारा मिला।
जो महंगाई है काफ़ी बढ़ गई है और जो मार्केट लेबर प्राइस भी है वो भी काफ़ी बढ़ गई है, तो उसको देखते हुए हम लोग को रकम बढ़ाने की ज़रूरत है।
Welcome back. Now it's time for news from around the world. The United States and its allies are stepping up the pressure of sanctions on Russia on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian military said that 1 soldier was dead and 6 were injured in increased shelling by pro-Russian separatists. Here's a report on the Russia-Ukraine crisis.
Today, in response to Russia's admission that it will not withdraw its forces from Belarus, I have authorized additional movements of U.S. forces and equipment already stationed in Europe to strengthen our Baltic allies, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Let me be clear, these are totally defensive moves on our part.
Taking a cue from the USA, Britain, Germany, Japan, Australia, and Canada also imposed economic sanctions against Russia. The sanctions were triggered by the recognition of 2 Donbas regions as republic by Russia. Putin clarified that Russia doesn't want an empire within an empire. However, self-proclaimed Republic of Donetsk and Luhansk claimed Russian troops were already inside their territories. In the midst of the direct attack on its sovereignty, Ukraine president called upon the Russian president for a dialogue. However, White House has said there will be no summit between President Putin and President Biden. Ever since the conflict erupted weeks after Russia's 2014 annexation of the Ukrainian Crimean Peninsula, Ukraine and its Western allies have accused Moscow of backing the separatists in Ukraine's east with troops and weapons, charges that Russia has denied so far. But Putin's move on Monday formalizes Russia's hold on the regions and brings the conflict out in the open. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Well, we'll talk about sanctions in just a bit, but now let's move to the other stories from around the world. Hundreds of undocumented migrants clashed with members of the National Guard in the Mexican city of Tapachula as they protested for a speedier solution to their migration status. The protesters wanted their documents processed to enable them to enter the US. The protests were triggered when some people found photocopies of identification papers in the trash. Sticks and stones were thrown at the National Guard at the National Migration Institute. An hour-long hostage standoff at Apple Store in Amsterdam ended on Tuesday. Police said the hostage was safe. A robot checked him for explosives. Celebrations were held for the 62nd birthday of Japanese Emperor Naruhito at the Imperial Palace in Tokyo on Wednesday. Japanese Prime Minister and other officials visited the Emperor in the morning. While Emperor usually marks his birthday with a speech to the public, it was cancelled this year to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Two Blackhawk helicopters crashed near a Utah ski resort during a training exercise. Fortunately, none of men and women aboard the helicopter were injured. The crash occurred during a standard training exercise on US Forest Service land just outside the Snowbird ski resort, about 47 kilometers from Salt Lake City. Mexico City may be having its last season of bullfights. Legislators in the city assembly are trying to revive a bill banning the activity. This year's season closed on Sunday and was marked by protesters. Now news from the world of business and economy. Asian stock markets rebounded on Wednesday after Wall Street fell over President Vladimir Putin's authorization to send Russian soldiers into eastern Ukraine. Shanghai, Hong Kong, South Korea and Australia advanced. Japanese markets were closed for a holiday. Oil prices edged higher on concern about possible disruption to Russian supplies. The Shanghai Composite Index rose 0.4%. Taiwan stock market reacted mildly with a slight surge at opening market. The White House said its sanctions on Russian banks and oligarchs are only the beginning. Deputy National Security Advisor Dalip Singh said no Russian financial institution is safe if it invades Ukraine. The White House said that Monday's announcements were only the first tranche. Further financial sanctions and export controls will be unveiled if Russia escalates the situation further. Germany has halted the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline from Russia. Chancellor Scholz said it is one of the punitive measures against Moscow over the Ukrainian crisis. The decision is significant from the German government, which had long resisted pulling the plug on the project despite pressure from the United States and some European countries to do so. Washington has argued that building another pipeline bringing natural gas from Russia to Germany increases Europe's reliance on Russian energy supplies. Now news from the world of science and technology. Sydney's seafront consists of numerous man-made marine structures that are devoid of marine life. A team of marine scientists are superimposing specially designed panels on existing structures to mimic natural habitats in order to restore a healthy local environment. Take a look. Marine sea life is essential to filter, clean and improve water. It plays a big role in fixing carbon from dead organic matter. But modern constructions like seawalls, jetties and piers often have a negative impact on marine biodiversity. They offer little space for plants and animals to live and take refuge from predators. A project, Living Sea Walls, tries to remedy this by incorporating the missing marine habitats in affordable modular concrete panels. Each design favors different sets of species, seaweeds and invertebrates that have important functions. In Sydney, 11 living seawalls have been put in place. There are similar seawalls in Queensland and South Australia, Singapore, Wales and Gibraltar. Bureau Report, Sansad TV. Now for all action from World of Sport in our sports segment. And today, let's start with chess. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today congratulated young Indian chess sensation R. Pragnanandha on his recent win over world champion Magnus Carlsen. Taking to Twitter, PM Modi wrote, "We are all rejoicing on the success of the young genius R. Pragnanandha. proud of his accomplishment of winning against the noted champion Magnus Carlsen. I wish the talented Praggnanandha the very best for his future endeavours. Praggnanandha, however, failed to qualify for the knockouts of the ongoing Masters as he finished in 11th spot in the standings. And let's move to tennis now. World number 1 Novak Djokovic is taking on Russian Karen Khachanov in the round of 16 of the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships tonight. As you would remember, Djokovic was deported from Australia last month for not getting vaccinated to prevent COVID-19. And playing in altogether different part of the world, Rafael Nadal matched his best career start to an ATP Tour season. The fourth seed defeated Denis Kutla 6-3, 6-2 to reach the second round of Mexican Open. With the win, he matches his best start of ATP Tour season. And talking about cricket, India will take on Sri Lanka in the first of 3 T20 international match series in Lucknow tomorrow. The Rohit Sharma-led home team would be confident after a series win against West Indies just a few days back. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, are coming after a 4-1 beating at the hands of Australia. The second and the third matches of the series will be played on 26th and 27th of February at Dharamshala. Kumar Yadav has been ruled out of the upcoming T20 internationals against Sri Lanka. The 31-year-old batsman suffered a hairline fracture on his hand and has been declared unfit for the white ball series. Kumar sustained the injury while fielding in the third T20 against West Indies at the Eden on February 20th. Pacer Deepak Chahar, who pulled his hamstring in the same match too, is out of the series against Sri Lanka. And talking about football now, Kai Havertz and Christian Pulisic put Chelsea in control of their Champions League last 16 tie against Lille with a 2-0 win. Lukaku was dropped to the bench after a dismal showing against Crystal Palace. Chelsea, however, needed just 8 minutes to find the net worth Havertz. Pulisic then finished off a quick break after 63 minutes to secure a 2-0 win. And in Russia, the largest lake in the world is home to an ice festival every year. This year's historical theme, From the Depths of Centuries, inspired 8 teams of artists to look to prehistory for inspiration.
The largest in the world ice festival is held annually on Lake Baikal. Over the weekend, artists erected ice sculptures to embrace this year's theme, From the Depths of Centuries. 45 teams took part in the competition, 8 passed to the qualifying round. Artists based their sculptures on real ancient artifacts. In the center of the site, visitors are greeted by a circle of standing stones resembling Stonehenge in England. Ice swimming was cancelled due to cold weather, but people could play Velenko ball, football played with felt boots. You need a secret trick not to slip. Locals believe the game was born on Olkhon, the island in Baikal Lake. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And before we sign off, a relook at the headlines. Voting ends for the fourth phase of UP elections, over 60% polling for 59 assembly seats. Campaigning intensifies in Manipur and other poll-bound areas of UP. ED arrests Maharashtra Minister NAWAB Malik in money laundering case, interrogates him for 6 hours. Prime Minister lays stress on using technology to transform the image of rural India. Foreign Minister Jaishankar asserts India will not accept unilateral changes in LAC by China. Sanctions by Western nations multiply for Russia. Ukraine decides to deploy more troops in rebel-held areas. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Namaskar.